start you out with our estate Chardonnay. This is our 2019 Chardonnay. Now, our whole approach here when we're making our wine is not about manipulation or anything else. It's about the fruit and really showcasing the quality and showcasing the terroir and that minerality that you get out of here. Now, our sediment type here is Willacassee loam soil. It was deposited here 14,000 years ago during the Missoula floods. My father-in-law bought this piece of property, and originally it was a fruit orchard. And the one bad thing about Willacassee loam soil is that it's very nutrient deficient. So for farmers, this is a soil type that they absolutely did not like very much. When my father-in-law bought this property back in 1972, he paid $165,000 for 250 acres with a barn, house, and it was a fruit orchard. But none of the farmers wanted it. But he, wanted to plant a vineyard on that hill, and everybody thought he was nuts. But he spent the next few years blowing up stuff, ripping out things, all that type of stuff, in order to get the land cleared up on that hill in order to plant a vineyard. And originally we had 88 acres of estate vineyard. What you currently see right now is about 33 acres of vineyard. In the late 90s, we got phlox row, which is a little root louse, because everything was planted on original French rootstock. By 2006, the whole vineyard was gone. We replanted in 2015, and this is from the replanting. So we replanted, originally we had Pinot Noir, a variety called Chasseladora. We had Sauvignon Blanc and Riesling. And when we replanted 20 Pinot Noir, so the whole big top triangle is all Pinot. The right corner block is Chardonnay, and the next three blocks are all Pinot Gris. Our sediment type here does not hold water very well. Like I said, it was nutrient deficient, but it has a lot of great minerality. So for grapes, it's really fantastic. It's what you want. You want the minerality. You want them to go find their way. We never water our vines at all. We want them to find their own way, and that does a whole lot of things. Number one, it creates a lot better quality fruit. The vines pull that minerality out of the ground, which transforms into the wine. It also will help them be more hardier during drought situations like we have this year. And, a better quality fruit. We're all about quality, not quantity. So anyway, this is the Pinot, our Chardonnay. It's 100% neutral oak. When I make our Chardonnay originally here, like when I made this, both of it started out in this, being fermented by itself. So we bring it in, press it off the skins, goes in a stainless steel tank. We get it as cold as we can, let all that sediment and everything settle, and then we start to ferment. And ferments, we keep them right around 55 or 57 to 60 degrees, and then they go through their whole fermentation. When they're done, at that time I'll split some up and put it into neutral oak, just so it goes through ML in neutral oak, and then some will stay in stainless steel. And only at the end, when we're finally deciding on how things are, we decide, okay, well, we're going to keep everything separate and do a stainless steel and a neutral oak release, or are we going to blend everything together, or are we going to do a little bit combination of both? Now this is 100% neutral oak, so it's more along the lines, it just softens the acids, makes it more approachable. But we serve our Chardonnay at room temperature for two reasons. Number one, you can taste all the characteristics of the minerality, all the characteristics of the fruit. You can also taste any flaws in winemaking. So originally we, kind of did it along the California way, and my mother-in-law one day came out and she tasted the fruit, and she's like, I just don't like California, or the way our Chardonnay tastes. She came out and tasted the fruit, and she's like, this is absolutely fantastic. She goes, how come it doesn't taste like this? And they go, well, it's because we, use, regular oak barrels instead of neutral oak barrels, and the way we go through this. And she goes, well, let's just quit doing that. And so ever since then, this is how we do it. And I think it's it's more along the French style of making Chardonnay. So. Okay, so this is our 17 Pinot Noir Lemon Reserve. This is from a vineyard called Menifee Vineyard. Now, when we do our Pinots, everything that comes in here, wherever I get fruit from, whether it be from anywhere in the Willamette Valley, in the Columbia Valley, down in Southern Oregon, out of Milton Free Water in the Walla Walla AVA, everything comes in, and everything gets fermented separately. So clones, so it goes vineyard separate, clone separate, or varietal separate, and then it also gets barreled that same way. So only at the end, when we're starting to do blending and stuff, is when if stuff's going to come together, it comes together. So first thing we do is we pull out barrels that are for our estate stuff, our best estate fruit, and that gets bottled, do a bottling of that, whatever it might be. It might be single varietals, it might be a blend, or whatever, however we decide to do things that year. So that gets pulled off the top. Then we go through and we look at all our other vineyard locations, and we pull out the best barrels that we can find there. And what we're doing is we're looking for the best vineyard of that year besides our estate. So sometimes we'll do one, and sometimes we'll do two. But the interesting thing is that when you're blending anything, you may think all these barrels are similar, but as soon as you start putting them together, one barrel can just throw the whole thing off, and it doesn't turn out the way what you want. So this vineyard here is actually also in Yamhill Carlton AVA, but it's the furthest westerly vineyard in our AVA, so basically in the foothills of the Coast Range. But it has jewelry soil, not Willacranzi loam soil. So when Yamhill Carlton AVA was created, originally they thought it was all Willacranzi loam soil, but there are spots throughout it that has jewelry soil. Now jewelry is volcanic, rich in iron. It's also a nutrient deficient soil, but it holds water a little bit more than Willacranzi loam, but not too much. And again, it's another one of those vineyards that are another one of those soil types that are absolutely fantastic for growing fruit. All of Dundee Hills, pretty much, is all jewelry soil. And jewelry soil is actually Oregon's main soil, what they call Oregon soil type. Now, this particular vineyard, in this year, 17, you get more. We took 777 clones, 115 clones, and 667 clones we get from this vineyard. But you get more of a baking spice, silky, velvety characteristic. Some people say they can taste the iron, and that's been described as a rare steak, blood, or metal. Not everybody has that ability, but you get more of your peppery characteristic, more. I get more of your bigger cherry characteristic out of here, and lots of baking spice. Just a really, really nice wine. This will age very, very well over time. This is one of the higher ends. And then we go, and after we do this, then we'll pick up our barrels for our barrel select. And barrel selects will be a blend, could be a blend of a couple different AVAs or different vineyards. Sometimes it's two. That's when the winemaker really gets to pick and choose and really kind of try to make the best wine that they can. So this is always a really nice one. So I think that and the next one is also another limited reserve, but it's from Chehala Mountain, and you'll be able to, it's a 16, but you'll be able to tell the difference is a huge, drastic change in difference in the two wines. So this is our 2016 limited reserve from Finnegan Hill. Now Finnegan Hill is up on Chehala Mountain, just on the other side. Kind of borders the line for Ribbon Ridge. Now this is one of those vineyards. All my other vineyards that I deal with, I control pretty much everything that goes on with them. If they pull leaves, what they spray on them, if they need to drop fruit, the whole thing is very important for us because, like I said before, that we have our whole idea is to start with good quality fruit. And so this is one of the only vineyards to where their practices and stuff that they do are so great, and their fruit is so absolutely fantastic that I do not worry about this vineyard. Now, I don't get fruit from this vineyard very often, but if I can, this is one of the ones that I'll buy on a whim because I know the quality of the fruit and I know what it really produces. Our whole thing is to be environmentally safe. We don't spray a bunch of chemicals and stuff on our stuff. We're salmon certified here. This one is also a volcanic soil, but this particular vineyard I get more of your like deeper raspberry, more blackberry spice. It's very, very spicy, but it is, and that comes from that volcanic soil, I think. And this vineyard just produces absolutely amazing fruit. Now, last year during the fires at this vineyard, we had one of the bigger wineries around here that had gotten the contract for this vineyard, and with it, we had all the fires and stuff, and they had a fire on Chehala Mountain, but it was on this side, and the smoke was going south. And where this vineyard is, way on the other side, and it wasn't the wind, and it wasn't exposed to it. But this vineyard, or this winery, dropped the contract. I have the same vineyard manager as what they have, and I found out about it within 20 minutes of it happening. I called the vineyard up and said, to take the fruit. It was already gone. Oh, that's how popular.
Oh, wow! Wow!
It is really amazing, and it's a woman-owned vineyard. It's really fantastic, and I think it's absolutely amazing quality fruit, and you can really taste it through this. You get the color that comes through on this Pinot, and the spicy characteristics, the peppery characteristics, and that the berry really, really showcases the Willamette Valley Pinot Noir, I think, very, very well. Also, our use of oak when we're doing barrel aging is we never use brand new barrels. We always use at least seconds. And then if we had to do any bigger oak type of stuff, it's just what we want to do is we want to use just enough oak to pull out the characteristics of the fruit, not to be overly bearing, overly oaky, that type of a thing. It's kind of like using vanilla when you're baking. You just use it just to pop those characteristics and pull out the different nuances of that wine. So that's how my father-in-law did it, and that's how our whole approach is. So yes. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this.
Outstanding. Thank you, Lucas.
Yeah, you're welcome. This is something a little unique that I'm going to pour you right now. So this is off the list. This is on our standard tasting flight. So this is what we call our 2018 Fumé Cuvée. Now in 2018, remember I kind of gave you a preface yesterday about the fires, that happened last year. Well, in 2018, there was a California winery that was supposed to take this fruit. There was 8 to 10 vineyards down there in Southern Oregon. And normally we do not make Pinot Noir from Southern Oregon because it just doesn't follow our characteristics of how we like the fruit. You don't get that fruity characteristic like you get here. This is kind of like more of a California Pinot. And we got a call from my grower, and Pinots down there are actually the last thing to finish. Over here, it's different. I had already got all my big reds in, all my Pinots, everything done. We were done with harvest, and we got a call from our grower, and he said, "Hey, can you guys take some Pinot Noir down here? I know you normally don't do that, but he says we have an issue. We have 8 to 10 wineries down, or vineyards down here that are going to end up going bankrupt because they didn't have crop insurance, and they said that the winery that was supposed to take this canceled the contract 5 days before harvest." And so, as soon as he said that, I'm like, "Well, Michael," I said, how is the fruit?" And he said, it's fine." He said they didn't do any testing or anything to substantiate their claims. I said, "Well, I'll take some from every vineyard." So we took a little bit from every one of the vineyards, and then we brought it up here. And then Statesman Journal wrote an article about how we were helping out these wineries down in Southern Oregon. Then all of the wineries in the Willamette Valley, a lot of the bigger wineries, they all jumped on board and bought the fruit from them, which was absolutely fantastic. And everybody did something a little different. There was solidarity wines, there was all kinds of different things. Kira and I decided to take a different approach on this. So standard barrel aging on a Pinot Noir is 12 to 18 months. We did 24 months barrel aging. We also did very light filtration because I learned a lot of my wine knowledge in Germany in the early 90s and stuff, in the Rhineland-Pfalz and Mosel regions and stuff. I just fell in love with wines over there with no intention of ever making any wines or doing anything like that, just because I love wines. But over in Europe, they filter. That's just the least amount of filtration. You'll have sediment in the bottles. You'll have this stuff. It kind of helps with the longevity of that wine, and it makes it more, makes it stay around longer. Here, I believe that in the United States, a lot of people think that stuff, if it's got sediment in it, or there's something wrong with it, and that's not necessarily the case. So Kira and I, with our 18s, we decided to take a different approach altogether. But with this particular one, so we did very light filtration, just enough to catch the big chunks. Because I was also afraid, since we have never worked as these vineyards before, that I was going to strip a lot of the characteristics out of the wines. And I believe that that's what happens when you really filter stuff down. And sometimes that stuff will come back, but a lot of times it just doesn't, and then it's lost. So we did that. We bottled this last October. We just released this in May. And reason we named it Fume Cuvée was because if you barrel age a Sauvignon Blanc, it's called a Fume Blanc. And because of the fires down there, but there's a fire always in Southern Oregon, so that's the other thing. And so we decided to name this a Fume Cuvée. Now, normally our cuvées are a little bit of everything in the Willamette Valley. This one here is just a cuvée from it's a little bit of all different Pinots from all of the vineyards down there. And normally our cuvées are ones that I would say, hey, this is not an ager, it's a drink me now type of a wine, This one actually, I think, has ageable characteristics, and it was really surprising how well it turned out. To me, it's not fruity, and it doesn't showcase the characteristics and that spice. This is more earthy and barnyardy, kind of that characteristic. More similar to like a Big Red in some aspects, but with Pinots, at a certain temperature point, they just kind of quit harvesting. Quit ripening, and they take that energy and they put it back to their survival of the plant. So when you have days and nights like that, they're really hot, they just kind of sit there and just kind of get stagnated until you get that cool